What is up, ladies and gents? You know what time of day it is. It's Zebec time, and in today's video we're going to be talking all about Zebec. We're going to be discussing what we are seeing here on the charts, and I'll be giving you guys my price prediction for Zebec over the coming days and weeks, as well as my targets for 2025. So be sure to stay tuned for all of that. Of course, if you are a new viewer, then welcome to this channel. If you do like this sort of content, hit the like button and subscribe for more. If you are a returning viewer, as always, welcome back to the channel. It's great to have you all here. So of course, we're going to be diving straight into this video. We're going to start off with Zebec here in the shorter term. We are on the 1 hour chart right now, and the picture that we have here on Zebec is one of a consolidation. Of course, the prices for the past week have been choppy, and immediately what we could be looking at here on Zebec is something that looks a bit like this, some sort of triangle on the shorter term. Of course, we are seeing the prices bouncing up and down and up and down, and I am seeing signs here that we could be in for a little pump here on Zebec since we started to see a bit of a divergence. Now, a hidden divergence between the MACD and the price. And so on the 1 hour, you can see that if we draw a support line for the prices here in the very short term, the trend line for it is obviously heading down. But here on the MACD, if we draw that same trend line on the MACD lines here, you can see that that same support is actually starting to face up. This is a hidden divergence, and it's a bullish sign telling us that we could see a trend reversal in the near future. Of course, since we're on the 1 hour chart, that means in the short term, we could see something like this here on Zebec. Of course, the fact that we're seeing this divergence also gives me more conviction that we could be seeing the support line acting as the true support here for the prices. And if we do see something like this, where the prices start to head upwards in the next, and if we do see the prices head up, then the target for that would just be this upper trend line here at 0.21 cents. Of course, if we lose this support level, which at the end of the day is always a possibility, then in order for us to remain at least somewhat bullish here on Zebec, if we want prices to go higher in the near future, we have to hold this 0.16 level. On top of that as well, on the shorter term, I'm really paying attention as well to this MACD, particularly on the 1 day chart. Of course, what we have right now is this consolidation, and here on the MACD, you can see that it's generally been bullish. The momentum here on Zebec has been bullish, but as you can see, the green bars are declining. That means that the bullish momentum is decreasing, and the two lines are closing into each other. So if we don't see the prices move upwards within the next few days, we could see a sell signal from the 1 day MACD, which would be a very, very bad sign. That's a strong signal in my opinion. For example, if we have a look at this peak in February, we got a sell signal after a few days of sideways movement during this area here. And of course, after we got that sell signal from the 1 day MACD, we saw the prices decline here on Zebec. So we have to make a move upwards sooner rather than later. Otherwise, we do get a sell signal from the MACD. So that's something to pay attention to if you are looking for any such breakout. Of course, I am slightly more bullish than I am bearish here on the short term, because when it comes to Monday, I do think the markets will be opening higher. Of course, we've seen a lot of momentum over the past week here in crypto. We are seeing very good signs that altcoin season is starting to come to us. If we go onto CoinMarketCap briefly, you guys can see why I think that. Of course, at the moment, the Fear and Greed Index is at 75. It's now the highest it's been since 2024. So we are starting to see positive emotions come back into crypto. That's going to be very good for us here in Zebec. And the altcoin season here, the altcoin season index is at 36. So while it's still in the Bitcoin season zone, and of course for a true altcoin season, we need to see a value of above 75, we are making strong progress, because just a few weeks ago, this value was sitting at 15. So we're making progress into the right direction. We still got a bit of a way to go, which means we still have a lot of time to accumulate Zebec before we get a true altcoin season and we start to see crazy prices here on Zebec. And so as prices start to head to the 0.21 cents region, if we start to see the prices do something like this, for example, where we get to this upper level here, and we start to see a clear breakout to the upside, we could be looking at the price target of this potential price pattern that we are seeing on the charts, this triangle here. And of course, the price target from any such breakout is the first test of support and resistance. We just drag that measuring tool to where we see the breakout. We could be looking at a price target here of 0.28 cents on Zebec if we break out from this triangle. So this upper resistance line is something that we are paying attention to in the shorter term. But what's fascinating about this upper resistance line is that if we zoom out a little bit here on the Zebec chart as well, we have something seriously insane in play. Of course, what we now see is that the prices have essentially come up to this same region on two separate occasions. Of course, we know for a fact that this area is quite a strong resistance for Zebec. Zebec has a lot of difficulty getting above the 0.2 to 0.22 cents region here. And so if it's able to break past this area, we should expect prices to go up pretty quickly. And I think that 34% upside from that triangle that we are seeing is just the first stop. Because if we have a look at this whole structure, what we see is this upper resistance here, but we've also got a place where the prices have come down to the same level on two separate occasions. So this whole structure that we could be seeing is some sort of double bottom pattern. And if we see a breakout from that upper resistance there, from that shorter term triangle at 0.21 cents, and we see all the classic signs of a breakout. So we see an increase in trading volume, we see bullish momentum, then we could be seeing a breakout of this longer term double bottom pattern here on Zebec as well. And the price target from any such breakout then roughly becomes this here, a 200% trade to the upside. And the price target should be 0.65 cents. So of course we have this massive pattern to look forward to. Of course, if you are looking for a great place to buy or trade any such breakout here on Zebec, then look no further than the MEXC exchange. This is the exchange that I use for all my trading because they have some of the lowest trading fees. They don't require KYC, and for a very limited time only, as you can see from the screen, they're giving every new user who signs up using the link in the description down below $20. So if you want to make use of this offer, sign up in that link in the description down below. It takes less than a minute to do so. Don't forget to deposit some fiat or crypto into your account, and they'll give you that $20 straight away. So you can, for example, just buy some Zebec or trade any such breakout. Of course, guys, thank you so much for supporting this channel. Back into this video. So this is one of the price targets. So this is one of the main price targets that I have here for Zebec. Essentially a 3x from wherever we break out to the upside. Of course, this zone here on Zebec is going to be a tough cookie to crack. But once it cracks, I do think the move up to this level at 0.65 cents should be fairly swift. Now, talking about my upper price targets here for Zebec, I am looking at these price targets that fall along the fib levels when we draw them between the all-time high there to the all-time lows. And essentially what we've seen here on Zebec is that the price targets stemming from these patterns tend to fall along the fib. So for example, this double bottom pattern that we could be seeing, the price target lands directly on the 1.41 fib there. So that actually gives me conviction that we could be seeing that price target hit from that double bottom pattern if we do see it break out. Of course, for 2025, my upper targets for Zebec are this 2 fib and this 2.618 fib. The 2 fib is currently at 1.7 cents. That's my first price target for 2025 and Zebec. And if we can get past this level, my ambitious target there is sitting at 4.5 cents. So those are my two main targets here for 2025 on Zebec. Of course, the main thing that we have to bear in mind is that we're seeing this sort of rotation happening. This was basically the blueprint for crypto that I used in the 2021 bull run. Everything starts off with Bitcoin pumping. We obviously see Bitcoin as the first mover. Money flows into Bitcoin first and foremost. And for the past few months, we've known that Bitcoin has basically outperformed most altcoins. Of course, if we go back onto CoinMarketCap, we can see that the second largest crypto, Ethereum, has been massively underperforming the market. We started 2025 with Ethereum at $3,500 and it went down to a low of $1,300 in April. But now what we've seen is over the past 7 days, it's risen 36%. And so it's clearly outperformed Bitcoin's 9% over the past 7 days. So we're seriously starting to see phase 2 occur, which is when Ethereum outperforms Bitcoin. And as you can see, at phase 4, we've got alt season, which, like I described earlier, is what's going to allow Zebec to hit these massive price targets. And now we're starting to see Ethereum outperform. We could start to see the start of phase 2. Of course, when we see other coins like Solana, Cardano, XRP, BNB, etc. starting to also outperform Bitcoin, which we haven't quite seen just yet, then that's when we start with phase 3. And when we start to see smaller caps really outperforming these larger caps, that's when we get to phase 4. So at the moment, it looks like we could be starting phase 2. It'll be interesting to see Ethereum over the next few days. I really do think its rally will continue. And if so, that could really kickstart this whole money flow chart. That's worked so well for us in the previous bull run. So I'm looking out for what happens to these large caps first and foremost. If we start to see those rally, that's going to be a very good sign that in the near future, we could start to see Zebec doing absolute numbers here on the chart. But for now, in the shorter term, I do think we could see a little bit more sideways. I hope to see a breakout sooner rather than later, because like I say, we could get a crossover if we don't see Zebec move in the near future. So has to be quite quick with this breakout. Otherwise, we see prices probably heading down in the near future. So that's my thoughts here on Zebec at the moment. Hopefully this video was clear for you guys. Of course, do let me know down in the comments if you are holding any Zebec. And otherwise, guys, enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and I'll see you in my next video.